you are not going to be able to use AI as an individual for 100% of the things that you do. But what it could do is like 75% of the stuff that you are already doing could be done at 100% capacity if you use AI, right? I think that is, and I could be like wrong with the percentages or whatnot, but like as a philosophy, I think that's a really strong statement.
It's putting me out of business. See all the drawings,
right?
It's like, why do I even do it anymore?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tech Chronicles podcast. Today's episode is titled How to Use Gen AI for Your Benefit. We're going to cover areas such as why has Gen AI become so popular? We'll then talk a little bit about the value of using Gen AI as an individual and an organization. We'll then go into the meat of it, which is practical applications of using Gen AI in the software development lifecycle. And we'll end with some real world success stories. Before we get started, I'd like to play a quick game with all of you. When I say generative AI, tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Go.
Skynet.
Image creation.
Research for me. Anything else?
Fake.
True.
Make things faster.
Yeah. Be more productive, I guess, right? Cool. All right. Let's dive into this. Why has Gen AI become so popular suddenly?
I can take the first stab. So it is essentially something that is available to us via the internet. So why did it suddenly become like super popular? Because internet-based search and even AI aspects have been around for quite a while. So I will kind of take it as like try to explain it in two parts, right? So one of the key differences between like an internet based search and a Gen AI based search, so to speak. Internet based search would bring you results based on what's already out there, right? Like any content that someone had created, even training material. Like it's easy to access that something already there through like a search. Gen AI goes beyond that to produce new content on top of like what's already available. So it'll use like what's already available to kind of get to where it needs to be in terms of producing new content across like text based or image based or audio, video, like you know the whole slew based on like a context we provide. So that is like a key differentiator. So like I mentioned earlier, AI has been around for quite a while, right? One of the biggest changes now that we are seeing with like all these new things around Gen AI that's coming up is from two sides. One is that the hardware side has become more and more evolved, and it is getting evolved by the day to kind of help produce what we are seeing today, right? Like faster generation time, like quick results, whatever that might be. The other side is like it has gone from like a more commercial based use to like a more retail based use now, where anyone with an internet connection has access to it. Like, I mean, like everyone talks about ChatGPT, like there are like so many other flavors around it. There are free versions out there, so it's easy access. So this is kind of like these are like the things that has contributed towards like the hype, right? That is like a very high level kind of like a quick way to look at it. But would love to hear like others' thoughts on this.
Yeah, in my mind, to make it very simple, it's like when Google came out, it's like the best thing since sliced bread. Why? Because it collected all the information when we searched for it, but we still had to make sense out of it, right? What Gen AI is bringing is not only understanding what you're actually looking for, but it also creates meaning out of it and tells you. So that saves you a ton of time. Like instead of going through multiple pages, now you have the meaning and it understands you. It's just amazing. I think that's what makes it very popular. I know as I'm talking, I'm already outdating myself because the Gen AI is like growing at a rapid pace. And yeah, I think we'll talk more about those areas.
Awesome. That's really good points there, and I agree with everything. Um, let's dive into why would someone or an organization want to use Gen AI? What is the value?
I'd say it's no longer a choice anymore. Like every company is using it in some way or the other. So I think the battle right now is how to come up with creative solutions to use Gen AI in the best way possible to improving efficiency. So it is a race to who is going to be the first one to use it and showcase it.
Just to add to that, Shan, as an organization, from an organization's perspective, I think adding Gen AI to your product suite unlocks so many new possibilities for customers to interact and use your product, right? It is pretty amazing, actually. Like, for example, just Atlassian's product suite. We've introduced Rovo, which is our AI assistant. It is just incredible the amount of productivity gains we get from it, like meeting minutes, summaries, search across your entire product suite. It is amazing. Like, gone are the days of hunting down stuff or taking minutes, even for that matter, right? These redundant or mundane tasks are now automated through AI, and the value now is now transferred to your customer, right? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, FOMO is applicable for a lot of stuff, right? Like fear of missing out. So a lot of companies now trying to get into it like without strategy, without like a clear direction, without strategy. I think it is very important that you kind of figure out like how, as a company, are we really going to use AI to from a customer point of view. Even it, if you apply it right, and if you are able to market it the right way, it would actually bring some additional credibility to what you are producing from an end user's point of view, right? Like, so me using one platform over the other, like the choice might be I'm getting more biased towards like the one with AI or like leveraging AI like to produce something because it might have had like greater value. So I think you can look at it from both angles in terms of like how do you increase your productivity within your company and also kind of, you know, what is that end user experience or what is that value to the end user.
What about as an individual?
I think
Mhm.
yeah, definitely have to look at it like from the individual side too, right? Like we when we were first talking about like some of the keywords like productivity came into picture, right? Like I know that like there has been so many situations there, like personally I have kind of leveraged AI to increase productivity, and we'll go into some of the details a bit down the line on this podcast. Individually, I think one of the things that we have to kind of embrace this, right? If you are going to be against AI, I'm not. I don't think like you're going to lose is the right way to say it. Like you are kind of missing out on like better ways to do things, right? Yes, like there's always like a bit of fear, like when like a super trend kind of comes in, like there's like a huge wave, everybody's talking about it. I think you should like take a step back, like really kind of goes into like the same thing we were talking about companies, right? Like how do we actually use it for our benefit? There's nothing wrong with that, right? You can definitely make things better for you if you really embrace it.
And one thing I wanted to reiterate about the corporate unlocking the potential that we never thought. In today's age, like every company is sitting on massive amount of data, like we don't even know what to do with them, right? So it's just sitting there. And also gone are the days where we, take the data and put it in analytics and basically show it as an insight. Guess what? Gen AI can just generate it on the fly. Like, why even bother? So there is a ton of potential because we are sitting on a pile of massive amount of data. So I think there is no excuse not to explore Gen AI in that category.
My perspective is we've lifted the bar of the expectations of an engineer now, right? A software engineer coming out of college, the bar has just been elevated so much more. Gone is the thinking that, oh, they've learned Java, let's say, in college, and they're not able to do scripting. Now there's no excuse, right? And to the point that Yuresh you made, about if you don't use it, what are you missing? You're going to be left behind, to be honest. And then some people who know how to leverage this are going to get more things done faster, better, right? With higher quality, in fact, because they are going to be running all these test cycles much more quicker. So I feel in whatever role we play in the software industry, we have to embrace this and learn how to use it to improve ourselves. It's like every one of us now have our own assistant.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like if you're like a super hungry person, like in with regards to technology, this is just like a different flavor of it, right? I mean, before AI or Gen AI became a thing, like I know Rajan, you have done this, like I have done this, like we go to like these different articles, like try to keep up with like the latest trends, right? Like try something out, create like write POCs, like read about something. I think that same thing applies to Gen AI. It's just a matter of like embracing it and like trying to like really having like a true interest to like learn it and figuring out like how to use it. It might have like a million different things, but if you only need like five of it, right? Like that's the five you need to learn.
And
Exactly.
also reading about like the Claude, right? Anthropic Claude. Now it is able to basically do stuff for you online, right? That opens up a massive amount of productivity and scary part too sometimes.
Yeah. That's a good segue. Let's get into the meat of our discussion, which is let's talk about some practical applications of using Gen AI in the software development cycle.
Yeah. I can start with a with something I heard about, and then I'll give it over to you guys to kind of talk about like some of these points. I'm definitely paraphrasing this, and I might be misquoting it to a certain level, so don't take it for word for word. If I'm not mistaken, this was mentioned by either Sam Altman or like Jensen Huang. The statement goes like what you are not going to be able to use AI as an individual for 100% of the things that you do. But what it could do is like 75% of the stuff that you are already doing could be done at 100% capacity if you use AI, right? I think that is, and I could be like wrong with the percentages or whatnot, but like as a philosophy, I think that's a really strong statement. And that is, I really believe in that statement. Like I have a practical usage. I have some examples I can talk about like a bit later with regards to that. But I think that is a good philosophy to follow in a practical sense. So we can go into like some practical examples now.
Yeah, I agree. Going from 0 to 60 is now much easier, I guess. Right? For me, maybe as a practical example, honestly, research. I don't know whether this is a good or bad thing to say. Really. Before, I used to spend time, researching papers, articles, or what teams did to solve a particular type of problem, right? And try and find the lessons that they learned, so that we account for them when we are going on this journey ourselves. Now I find myself asking ChatGPT, right? Summarize this paper or point them to a research publication, summarize this paper. What are the things you need to be concerned about? What works well? Or find me other articles or stories where teams have gone through this. What technologies have they used? Did it work for them? Did it not? Right? Research for me has been a big use of ChatGPT.
Yeah, and talking about the practical part, I feel like there is a new kind of conundrum coming up with corporate world is that which one should they adapt, right? So because there's competing Gen AI solutions out there, whether to home grow or should we just go with something in the market, and it's changing so drastically that they are kind of trigger shy, I would say. Do you guys feel the same way, or is it like lock in and go for it?
I can go first. I think my approach is lock in and go for it, as no time to be trying to evaluate stuff. And right now, my current favorite is ChatGPT for the purpose that I'm using it for.
Same, yeah. I mean, like I use like a few different ones, ChatGPT being one of them for sure. I'm even subscribed to like the one of the paid tiers, like so that like you get like more benefits. There are a few different ones, like even within something like Canva, if you are trying to come up with like some kind of like a cool image, if you're not like a graphic designer by nature, right? Like you can get some ideas, like you can kind of enter like some idea, like and kind of get some outputs produced, and then kind of build on top of that, right? Even the background that we use for our podcast is produced by AI, right? Like Gen AI. Like no way that as a person I could have come up with like something like that on my own. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone else couldn't. I'm just saying like you have to kind of figure out like what how it applies to you individually.
It's putting me out of business. You see all the drawings, right?
Right.
It's like, why do I even do it anymore?
Can I get a refund for my one now?
Another one that I used, Gen AI is also in software design, right? Remember how we used to write little POCs to test out our design? I think we talked about it in a previous episode as well. Now you can just talk to ChatGPT and have it generate code for you. I mean, you can obviously converse with it and make it and have it correct itself so it's doing exactly what you wanted to do. But generation is so much easier now, right? So you can prove out theories much faster by using ChatGPT as your assistant.
Yeah, for sure. It producing code end to end is like an extreme situation, right? Like, but even if you want to go analyze your existing code base, how do you kind of optimize your code, all that, right? Like, so you can kind of you can produce projects just to leverage AI like against like what you already have, right? Like if you already have like a bottleneck, if you we have covered this in one of the episodes on how to optimize like architectures and stuff, right? Like if it is like a code based like the based on the code base, like some kind of bottleneck is happening, you could literally like feed in like your entire code base and try to find like where these anomalies are and try to target them and fix them. Like the applications are like limitless.
Now, some organizations are apprehensive about copy pasting code in ChatGPT and asking for solutions. I mean, using Copilot is a different thing, right? If you're in the IDE, what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think there is real danger?
There is a danger. This is my perspective, individual opinions. The way we do it is, so our AI is trained with our data, it is contained, right? And so when we use our code generating agent, the learnings, the generation, everything stays in house. So it doesn't leak. So in that way, we've created like a safe environment to be able to do all this kind of stuff. Another use case that we use a lot is also making sense of our metrics, trend analysis. Usually you hire a pretty expensive data engineer to do all this, and now you get a lot of value just by feeding it into these agents, and they can spit out the kind of data you want, right? That has been a lot of value as well.
That's a great point, like data profiling, right? If you have no knowledge of the data, like data profiling required some sophisticated tools before. That's a very good point. Yeah. That's just a sliver of what it can do. Yeah.
Hey everyone, if you want to keep up to date on these types of episodes, please subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. And also, if you go to like the description, you will see all our other social media links. You can continue to follow us and keep up to date like with these types of interesting topics. Subscribe now.
I have so many examples, to be honest. Another one is so infrastructure as code, so like generating Terraform,
Mhm.
for example. I mean, before we had to learn all this, right? Now this can spit it out, you can test it. If it doesn't work, feed it back again, keep iterating quickly. But you go from, like, to your point, you go from 0 to 60 very fast, which is nice. Another interesting one actually that I've used is sometimes you inherit code bases, right, from a different team. You can share it and say, hey, what is this code doing, right? I mean, that is a skill. I feel as an engineer you have to be able to read code and understand, but this makes it so much more easier.
I'm embarrassed to say I ask that question more often than probably you both. It's like in my team, like if I need to understand, certain PR, like or some code snippet, I do that all the time. Even screenshot works fine too. So the other, in terms of applications, it's a little off the regular software engineering side, is that I use Gen AI to help me build a sophisticated resource management and budget management control on Google Sheet.
Mm,
Like we
yeah.
use Excel sheet all the time, but writing formulas and queries in Google Sheet is an entirely different thing. So
Mm.
I used ChatGPT almost exclusively to explain what I needed done, and it was awesome. Like I now have a sophisticated system to manage my budget.
Yeah, there's a similar scenario in my case. I was doing this Salesforce customization recently. Part of that like had to do like some advanced formulas, right? So leverage like ChatGPT like end to end like works as a charm. Like you kind of like, sometimes you have to adjust things a little bit, like you test them out, try them out. And the reason why I actually specifically wanted to bring it up was that I was having a different conversation with the same client I was doing this customization for just last week. And one of the formulas came up part of our conversation, and they were asking like, someone like from the client side was saying that yeah, like I was trying to figure that out. So apparently this person was trying to watch like YouTube videos to try to figure out like how to do it. I said like during the call like use ChatGPT, and there was like a 30-second silence on the call. Like I think like in their mind, like were we paying you like to do things like through ChatGPT kind of thing? I mean, again, like I had explained, like it's not like ChatGPT was doing it automatically. Like I had to do some work, but I leveraged it, right? Like if I had to dig through like some documentation, it would have taken like days or weeks even like to get that done.
Another one. Sounds like I use it a lot, but I have become so much more productive thanks to this. Right? Is honestly documentation. Right? Sometimes I just give bullet points and ask to write like in prose a paragraph for like RFPs, proposals, approach pages. Sometimes it generates like an outline at least where you put in your details.
I mean, same goes for presentations, right? PowerPoint
There you go.
presentations. Like it even generates like all these like pretty slides for you. It's not just the content part, right? It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of.
I can tell you one other example is we recently brought in a support team to manage multiple teams in one. So we use AI to basically plug in all the Confluence pages where individual teams are managing into forming a unified support documentation and standard operating procedure for a support team to handle. So that was a massive, massive thing. Imagine trying to do that manually.
I have a good one then for you, right? So we have so the way we work is every team is responsible for some set of services, right? And so we have public help. Public means within our company help channels. So if someone else is consuming that service and they have a question or something, they can ask that question, and we have a person who's on rotation called disturbed to answer those questions. Okay, that's part of being in the team. So you're on rotation, you're on call, not only for the service itself, but for these answering help questions too. Guess what? Now you can feed this to an agent, all the info, your Slack channel, plus the supporting documentation that you have, how to articles, run books,
Wow.
all that stuff. And so the agent is now the first line that responds if they can, and if not, then only the engineer or the human comes in and responds. Isn't that incredible? Right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
And I like what you said. That unleashes the potential of the individual now, rather than being bogged down doing this stuff. They can do valuable work. It's all valuable, okay?
Right.
They can use that time separately because this, like 60% is done by the agent. Very cool, right?
It's the age of the agent coming next,
Okay.
right?
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think the general theme here, just listening to our discussion, is the productivity gains that you get out of this by embracing this technology is incredible, right? Lifts you to a different level as an individual, as a company, as a team. So I think the lesson there is, you know Let's get with the program, right?
Don't hold back.
Don't hold back. Just do it. We're not sponsored by this by Nike. All right, let's move into some real world success stories. Where I know we talked a lot of little examples, but
Right.
like, what have we used? What have we done? Or we've seen where this has just made us or got stuff done.
I can go first. I have like a very recent success story with regards to like a real life application, and it is very relevant for our to our podcast too. So most of the work I do right now are like software architecture related. So I don't do like day to day coding anymore. One of the our regular followers within our podcast would know this. Like we also create these short clips from our podcast and like we publish it to like various social media platforms, right? Like we publish it to X, Instagram, TikTok. So all this time we have been doing this manually, right? Like we create the clips and we publish them like manually. I've been trying to find a way to like automate this. So just so this past weekend, across like Saturday and Sunday, I leveraged ChatGPT and wrote like an application from scratch, which is on Node.js. I have never coded Node.js in my life before, but when I look at like the code, I can see what it is doing because I have a programming background. But I wrote it from scratch, like line by line, like leveraging ChatGPT on how to basically read like the Google Drive. And when I point to like a folder, like go through like the short clips, read them, and then post to. I started with X as part like the first part of like the POC, but it's successfully running on my end. Like so, hopefully when we edit this episode, like that's what I'm going to use, like at least to publish to like X, so that I don't have to repeat the same thing multiple times. That was like a super fulfilling thing. I mean, like not only I managed to do it within 2 days. Even if I knew Node.js, I don't think I would have been able to do it within 2 days. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but that was like really fulfilling to even like try that out, learn a lot, and just like get that out there like in a from a practical sense,
I like that a lot. That's so cool. Staying with the this podcast topic,
right?
recently what I did was, so we have, obviously we publish our podcast on YouTube, but I was thinking maybe we publish a accompanying blog as well, right? And I found this thing that you feed in the YouTube podcast and it generates the blog for you. So we have our blogs now on Medium. It is pretty cool in like a couple of seconds. It's a very comprehensive, well put together blog. Makes our podcast sound like good too.
That was amazing, actually. That looks so real and better than real, I would say. Understood the topic so deeply.
I should have told you I wrote it.
Yeah, I would have believed it. Yeah. Well, I don't have applications similar to you guys that are relevant for this, but I can say something which is tech adjacent science fiction novel. I've been working on it for many, many years as a hobby, writing a science fiction novel, never get a chance to finish it. But then ChatGPT came along. Now it is a profound, it's a surreal feeling because I'm creating these characters and I'm giving them voice in a certain way, like even how they speak is different, every character. So after that, now I come in and create a scene and ask my ChatGPT project to write it for me. I'm enjoying reading my own story because it's coming up with, connecting the dots. It's unbelievable. So that's one application that I use personally. The other one is, I'm a little bit crazy about credit card points and points with hotels. So I created a project where all my not credit card information, but the type of credit card I have and the benefits I have. So all I need to do is, hey, I have this expense coming up. Which card should I be using? And it gives you
Nice.
Wow,
everything.
that's a cool
Yeah.
one. That's a
That's
nice
pretty
one.
cool.
I have an interesting one too, since you went away from software. So I have a group of friends. One of he lives in Vegas, and so we started putting some money on some of the NFL games, right? And so in ChatGPT you can create your own GPT by feeding it specific data sources. So like, the pundits' perspective of who will win, what's the the over under, the spread, all that kind of stuff,
Mm.
plus ESPNs, and there's so many different sites, right? So we fed that, and we're like, out of all the games that's happening today, give me the top three best chances of getting it right, right?
Hang on, hang on. Is that how you were winning all this time?
No, no, not fantasy. Fantasy. But no, I mean, I wouldn't say we're winning all the time, but it's taken a lot of effort out of my plate trying to look at all everything. It just gives me three now, and I
Yeah.
just yeah, that's fun stuff. I think for me personally, one thing I have done is I am so you have all these accounts right across different banks, credit card, whatnot. I used to love this tool called Mint that I used to use. It's like a consolidated view of your expenditure, income and expenditure. Now that Mint has gone away, I used the code generator to scrape, from the different my financial institutions and build a categorized expenditure accordingly, right? And tell me, okay, where did I waste my money this month? Be more careful next month. You know what I mean? Uh, but that all that was done honestly in like a week. In a week, even with our busy schedules. I think that is pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, one other thing I can say, I won't go into details because this is a bit bit private when it comes to investments. Like I'm not going to try and provide any kind of like investment advice, but I'm doing like some trading on like the whole autopilot concept, right? So leveraging, I mean, again, like this is not like a new concept, but for the retail investors, this is like a fairly new concept. Automated trading, basically, right? So that you're not in front of like the computer all the time. It produces all these alerts. So if I need to, like, I can go into one of the platforms. It's using like few different platforms to do it, but you kind of have it programmed to like your specifications. You can specify like how much you want to invest with, and then you get all these like various types of alerts. Like if you want, like you can go and see what's really going on. If you want to do any stop something, restart something, whatever that is. But yeah, that's something I've been kind of using for like almost a year now.
I will vouch for that. I saw it. It is super impressive, man. It is super impressive.
Wait, I have an announcement to make to our audience, right? If Yuresh ever disappears from our podcast, you know why.
I'm in Bali.
Shall we wrap it up there? That was a good, fun conversation.
Yeah. So we started off as to why Gen AI became so popular, and then we talked about some of the value at a high level and in deep in certain cases. We talked about practical applications, both individually and organizationally. And finally, we touched on some personal applications. So I hope we'll meet you next week in our episode. Thank you very much. Bye bye.